The unknown signal. In the quiet expanse of space, a strange signal broke the silence. It came from a region once thought to be abandoned, an area known as the Orion sector. This sector, once rich in life and trade, had become a graveyard of dead stars and forgotten planets after the last great galactic war. The remnants of civilizations, their histories lost to time, floated in silence, and no one dared to venture there anymore. But on this particular day, something different happened. The alien listening posts, scattered across their vast empire, picked up a signal. It wasn't the usual noise they were accustomed to. This one had structure, pattern, and most disturbingly, it had purpose. The signal was not a simple message of communication. It was a warning. At first, the aliens assumed it was just another anomaly, a blip in their sensors. But the signal was persistent. It repeated itself every few seconds, with a rhythm too deliberate to be ignored. One by one, the alien leaders listened to the sound. It was a message, but not in any language they had encountered before. In the war councils of the galaxy, the message was debated, dismissed, and analyzed. The higher-ups in the alien fleet believed that the Earth, their long-lost enemy, had been wiped out by the Great War centuries ago. The humans were thought to have been completely eradicated, their cities turned to ash, their ships scattered like fallen leaves in the winds of time. Yet here was proof to the contrary. The signal wasn't just random. It had intelligence. It had history. It had purpose. The aliens could not shake the feeling that this message was meant specifically for them. The cryptic message's content wasn't entirely clear, but its intent was undeniable. We are still here. We have not forgotten. Commander Vorith, the leader of the alien fleet stationed on the edge of the sector, was the first to feel a chill. He had been in countless wars, had fought against invaders of all kinds, but nothing prepared him for this moment. What could this mean? Was it possible that the humans had survived? Impossible. His species had wiped them out, they thought. They had erased their trace from the galaxy. Or had they? The signal repeated for days, seemingly growing stronger and more urgent. As Commander Vorith stood on the bridge of his ship, his mind raced. What if the Earth hadn't been destroyed as they believed? What if the humans had hidden, waiting, biding their time to strike again? But why hadn't they appeared sooner? Why now? Then, on the third day, something changed. The signal did not just repeat itself. It responded to the alien ships. Vorith's sensors began to pick up unusual energy readings. The closer his fleet got to the source, the stronger the signals became. They weren't just passive transmissions. The signal was actively trying to communicate, trying to draw them in. It was as though the signal was alive, aware of their presence. The alien fleet began to prepare for what they feared could be an ambush. Vorith gave the order to advance, and the fleet began to move toward the signal source, a distant planet at the very edge of the Orion sector. As they approached, his officers grew uneasy. The energy readings were becoming more complex, their patterns shifting, moving. It was as if they were being led into something deliberate. The alien fleet consisted of ships equipped with the most advanced weapons and shields known to their species. Yet, even with all their power, something about this signal unsettled them. What if the humans had developed new technology, something that could rival their greatest warships? Could the humans have uncovered the secrets of the ancient technologies their species had once used to dominate the galaxy? Vorith ordered a full scan of the planet. The result was unexpected. The planet had long been thought uninhabitable, its surface scorched and lifeless. Yet the scan showed signs of activity, subtle but unmistakable. Hidden beneath the layers of rock and ash, something was moving. "We are not alone," the chief engineer reported, his voice tight with concern. "This planet, it's hiding something." The tension on the bridge grew as Vorith's mind raced. If the humans had survived, if they had hidden their forces here, it would change everything. His fleet would need to be prepared for a fight against the one species that had once nearly destroyed them. Suddenly, The fleet's sensors detected something even more terrifying. A massive structure, something unlike anything they had ever seen, rose from beneath the surface of the planet. It was a ship, but it was nothing like the warships of any species. This was something new, something ancient. The ship appeared from the depths of the planet, its massive hull shining with strange energy. The alien ships drew closer, their scanners running in overdrive, attempting to analyze this new, mysterious vessel. And then, without warning, the ship responded. The massive warship, once thought lost to the ravages of time, activated. Its hull gleamed with a fierce energy, and a deep hum filled the air. A pulse of power surged outward, and the alien ships felt it. The pulse was not one of a defense mechanism. It was a challenge. The message, still barely decipherable but now unmistakably clear, flashed across their screens. "We are still here, and we have not forgotten." The realization hit Commander Vorath like a hammer. Earth had not been destroyed. The humans had been waiting. And now, they were ready to strike. He gripped the edge of his command chair tightly, his heart racing. This was not what he expected. The humans were no longer the weak, frail species they once were. They were something else now, something powerful, something that had been lurking in the shadows, biding its time. The war was not over. It was only just beginning. As Vorath stared at the image of the rising warship, his mind went back to the last time he had encountered humans. The memories of their relentless courage and fierce resistance flooded back. They had never truly been defeated. They had simply disappeared into the shadows. And now, they were back, stronger than ever. The galaxy would soon learn just how terrifying the humans had become. The alien fleet moved cautiously as they drew closer to the mysterious warship that had just emerged from the planet's surface. Commander Vorath's eyes remained fixed on the massive ship that loomed ahead. Every instinct screamed that this was no ordinary ship. It was something ancient, something powerful. The signal they had been tracking for days was now coming from the heart of this warship, and it was alive with energy. Vorath's thoughts raced. What kind of power could this ship hold? Earth had been presumed destroyed, its population wiped out centuries ago. How could a species that had been on the verge of extinction return so suddenly with a weapon of this scale? "Prepare the fleet. We will approach cautiously," Vorath ordered. His voice, usually calm and commanding, now held an edge of uncertainty. He knew that the situation had changed. Earth, the home of the humans, was not the weak planet it had once been. The fleet's ships adjusted their trajectory, their engines humming as they aligned toward the massive warship. But the closer they got, the more unsettling the feeling became. The power emanating from the human vessel seemed to grow with every passing second. It was as if the ship was waking up, stretching after a long slumber, preparing for something. Inside the command center of the alien flagship, Vorath's officers worked frantically. Their instruments buzzed with alarm as new data poured in. "Sir, we are picking up energy readings unlike anything we've encountered before," one of the officers reported, his voice shaking. It's massive. The ship's power is unlike anything in the galaxy. We need to proceed carefully." Vorath nodded. He had fought in countless battles, but this was something entirely different. The humans had always been resilient, resourceful, but never like this. They had disappeared after the war, their civilization seemingly destroyed. But now, Earth's warship was standing tall, powered by something beyond imagination. "Send a message," Vorath ordered. "Tell them we come in peace, that we do not seek conflict." But deep down, he knew the message would not be well received. The humans were not a species known for forgiving or forgetting. This was not a simple misunderstanding. They had sent a warning. And that warning had been clear. Earth was no longer the weak, defenseless planet it had once been. As the fleet neared the warship, something strange happened. The massive vessel began to move. Slowly at first, then faster, until it was gliding toward the alien fleet with surprising speed. Its massive engines powered to life, and a deep rumble filled the atmosphere. It wasn't just a ship anymore. It was a force of nature. The alien ships drew into formation, their weapons primed, but they had not yet raised shields. There was still uncertainty among Vorath's officers. What if this was just a test? What if they were being drawn into a trap? "Raise shields," Vorath commanded. "We will not be caught off guard." The alien fleet raised its protective shields just in time. A bright flash of light illuminated the space around them. The warship from Earth fired a single shot into the distance. It was a massive energy blast, a force of unimaginable power that sent shockwaves through the void of space. The blast tore through the fabric of space, creating a ripple that could be felt even from the alien ship's position. "What was that?" An officer shouted. "Their weapon. It's like nothing we've ever seen." Vorath's eyes widened as he watched the warship's energy pulse. It was as if the ship had only fired a warning shot, reminding the alien fleet of what it was capable of. The power behind that blast was overwhelming, and it made one thing clear: Earth had not just survived, it had evolved. This warship was not just a ship, it was a symbol of humanity's vengeance. "We cannot ignore this threat," Vorath said, his voice filled with the weight of the situation. "Prepare for battle." But just as the alien fleet began to power up their weapons, something unexpected happened. A new signal began to flood their communication channels. A voice, calm and measured, echoed through the fleet's systems. "This is Earth's final warning," the voice said. "You've underestimated us for far too long. What you see before you is the last gift of our people. And now you will face the consequences of your actions." The voice cut through the tension, sending chills down Vorath's spine. He had heard of human defiance before, but this was something different. The humans had learned from their past, and whatever had happened during their long absence had transformed them into something far more dangerous. "We have no choice now," Vorath muttered. "They are not seeking peace." The fleet commander gave a quick glance to his officers, but none of them spoke. They all understood the gravity of the situation. They were dealing with something they couldn't predict, something that was far beyond their knowledge. The humans had not only survived, they had adapted. They had come back stronger, and now they were ready to fight. The massive warship from Earth sent out another message, this time directly to Vorath's flagship. The message flashed across his screen, its words sharp and final. "Brace yourselves. The cost of this war will haunt you. We will be your reckoning." Vorath's heart pounded in his chest. The message was clear, and it sent a wave of fear through the entire fleet. The humans had a new kind of power, one that was not easily defeated. They had rebuilt themselves into something terrifying. "I've seen this before," Vorath whispered to himself, his thoughts drifting back to the days of the Great Galactic War. The humans had always been a stubborn species, their strength lying not in their size or their technology, but in their refusal to give up. And now, after all these years, they had returned, more dangerous than ever. The alien fleet could feel it now, the fear. The fear that came from facing an enemy that should have been long gone, but had somehow risen from the ashes, stronger, more powerful, and more determined than ever before. And with that realization came the cold certainty that this would not be an easy battle. The air in the alien command center was thick with tension. Vorath, now standing before a massive screen displaying the Earth warship in all its terrifying glory, could feel the unease spreading throughout his fleet. No one had anticipated the power that had just been unleashed. The humans had always been underestimated. Every species in the galaxy had thought they were weak, defenseless. But now, it was clear that Earth's last defense was far from a simple relic of a lost world. It was a weapon unlike anything they had ever seen. "Deploy all scanners," Vorath ordered. His voice was firm, but beneath it was an undercurrent of uncertainty. "I want to know everything about that ship." The officers scrambled, their hands moving across control panels with urgency. Data poured in from all angles, but what they found only deepened their confusion. The readings were erratic, constantly shifting. Every time they tried to analyze the ship's power core, It seemed to change its configuration. It wasn't just a warship. It was alive, evolving. "Commander, this doesn't make sense," one of the officers said, his voice quivering. "The ship's energy signatures, they're fluctuating. It's as if it's adapting to our movements." Voreth's eyes narrowed. This was not just a technological marvel. It was something far more advanced than the aliens had anticipated. It was as if the ship had a mind of its own, a mind that was aware of its enemies and capable of outsmarting them. "This can't be happening," Voreth muttered, more to himself than anyone else. He had seen ancient warships in the past, but none of them had ever displayed this level of sophistication. This was no relic. It was something new, something that had been hidden for centuries. It was the embodiment of humanity's survival instinct, a force that had been biding its time, waiting for the right moment to strike. As the fleet commander paced back and forth in the dimly lit command center, a chilling realization settled over him. The humans had not only survived, they had rebuilt themselves. They had taken their destruction and turned it into something far more terrifying. What they had created was not just a warship. It was a symbol of their vengeance, a weapon that could destroy anything in its path. The alien fleet, which had once been the most powerful in the galaxy, now found itself facing an enemy it could not understand. Every analysis, every scan, only revealed more mystery. But one thing was certain. The humans had come back stronger than ever before. "Commander," an officer interrupted his thoughts, her voice urgent. "We've detected an incoming transmission from the warship. It's coming from Earth." Voreth's heart skipped a beat. The last transmission from Earth had been years ago, a final, desperate message warning of the planet's destruction. But now, it seemed that Earth's final hope had come alive again, and it was making its presence known. "Play it," Voreth commanded. The screen flickered to life, and a voice filled the room. It was calm, almost too calm given the circumstances, but there was a heavy sense of finality in the words. "We warned you," the voice said. "You should have listened. Now, Earth's wrath has been awakened. We are no longer the defenseless species you once knew. This war will not end in your favor." The transmission ended abruptly, and for a moment, there was silence. Voreth's officers exchanged uneasy glances. They had underestimated the humans, but now, it was clear that their arrogance had been their greatest mistake. "We cannot ignore this," Voreth said, his voice low but commanding. "Prepare the fleet for an immediate offensive. But be warned, this is no ordinary ship. This is humanity's reckoning." He paused for a moment, his mind racing as he tried to formulate a plan. He had fought in countless battles, but this one felt different. The humans were not just fighting for survival. They were fighting for something much more personal. They were fighting for their revenge, and they had a weapon that could make that revenge a reality. As the fleet moved into position, Voreth couldn't help but wonder what had happened to the humans during their years of isolation. How had they turned their desperation into such unimaginable power? And more importantly, what else were they hiding? The cold silence of space was shattered by the deafening roar of warships charging towards each other. The once peaceful stretches of space around Earth now felt like a pressure cooker, ready to explode. Voreth's fleet had moved into position, a well-organized swarm of ships, each one a pinnacle of alien military technology. Yet, despite their strength and numbers, the commander couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The warship from Earth had shown itself again. Unlike any ship he had seen before, its dark, angular silhouette loomed like a shadow in the distance. It was the color of the void, with shifting patterns of light and shadow dancing across its surface, almost as if it were alive. It wasn't just a vessel, it was a living nightmare, and it radiated an eerie, unnatural energy that sent chills down Voreth's spine. "Commander," one of his officers reported, her voice filled with unease, "we've confirmed the warship is locked onto us. Its weapons are charging." Voreth's gaze was fixed on the screen. It was clear now that the humans weren't afraid of death. They were prepared to meet it head-on. The fleet had underestimated their resolve, and now they were going to pay the price. "Focus all fire on the lead ship," Voreth ordered, his voice steady despite the growing tension. "We'll break their defenses and take them down one by one." The alien fleet opened fire, unleashing a barrage of weapons. Plasma blasts and energy beams streaked across the void, cutting through space with a brilliance that momentarily illuminated the dark expanse. For a moment, it seemed as if they might have the upper hand, but the Earth warship moved in ways no one had expected, twisting, dodging, and weaving through the oncoming fire like a predator evading its prey. Voreth's eyes narrowed as he watched the screen. The warship wasn't just maneuvering. It was anticipating their every move, adapting at an impossibly rapid rate. It was as if it knew their strategy before they even launched the attack. This wasn't just a battle of firepower. It was a battle of wits. "Redirect all fire to the rear," one of the officers shouted. But it was too late. The Earth warship's weapons came online faster than anyone could have imagined. In an instant, a brilliant flash of blue light erupted from the warship, sending shockwaves through space. The blast hit the alien lead ship with the force of a supernova. The ship's shields flickered and then failed entirely, as if they were made of nothing more than paper. The explosion was cataclysmic, lighting up the darkness of space like a miniature star. The alien ship broke apart in a burst of fiery debris, its remains scattered across the void. Voreth's heart skipped a beat. They had lost one of their most powerful ships in a single strike. "How is that possible?" he muttered under his breath. "It's not just a weapon," said one of the officers, her voice trembling. "It's something else. The ship, it's not just attacking with firepower. It's using its surroundings, manipulating space itself to redirect energy." Voreth clenched his fists. This was no ordinary fight. The humans had something far more dangerous than weapons. They had knowledge. Ancient, forbidden knowledge. And it was clear now that they weren't afraid to use it. As the rest of the fleet repositioned to attack again, Voreth's mind raced. They had no idea what they were truly up against. The humans had somehow unlocked the secrets of space itself. They had transcended the limitations of technology and were now fighting with something more primal, something that no one in the galaxy had ever seen before. Suddenly, the warship from Earth made its move. It wasn't retreating or running. It was advancing, and it was coming straight for them. "Prepare for combat," Voreth shouted. "All units, focus your fire on that ship. We cannot let it reach us." But as the alien fleet turned to face the warship, they realized something even more terrifying. The Earth ship wasn't alone. A second fleet, hidden in the shadow of the planet, now revealed itself. Hundreds of warships, smaller but still formidable, appeared from the darkness. The humans had been waiting. They had planned this. The battle for Earth had just begun, and the aliens were already losing. Voreth's eyes widened in disbelief. How had the humans managed to assemble such a force in secret? The galaxy had been watching them, thinking they were broken, defeated, and powerless. But now, it was clear that the humans had been biding their time, waiting for the perfect moment to strike back. "Commander," an officer said, his voice filled with urgency, "we're outnumbered. If we don't act quickly, we'll be overwhelmed." Voreth knew the situation was dire, but he couldn't allow panic to take hold. His fleet was powerful, but against this new human force, they were like children fighting a giant. The humans had spent years preparing, watching, and now they were ready to strike with a vengeance. "This is not over," Voreth said, his voice colder than ever. "We will fight with everything we have. But mark my words, if we lose today, it will not be the humans who regret it. It will be us. For we are about to witness the price of underestimating Earth." As the alien fleet prepared for its final assault, Voreth could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. This wasn't just a battle for victory. It was a battle for survival. And if they failed here, the galaxy would never forget the day that Earth had returned from the ashes, stronger than anyone could have ever imagined. The battle in the vastness of space had become a blur of explosions, flashing lights, and the hum of powerful weapons charging for the next deadly strike. Voreth's mind was racing, every instinct warning him that something far greater than he had ever expected was unfolding before him. The warships of Earth, once thought to be fragile and powerless, had proven themselves to be far more than just simple adversaries. They were a force of nature, striking with an unimaginable intensity, and it was clear they had not fought their full hand yet. The alien fleet had been driven into a retreat, but even that was a hollow victory. The Earth warship was not alone. It was supported by the mysterious fleet that had just emerged from the shadow of Earth. Hundreds of smaller but still powerful ships were now closing in on the remaining alien vessels, cutting off their retreat options. It was a battle of attrition, and it was evident that the aliens were losing ground rapidly. Voreth, the battle-hardened leader of the alien forces, was doing his best to keep his fleet together. He was calculating, cold, and precise in his commands, but deep inside, doubt began to creep into his mind. Never had he seen a species so relentless, so willing to sacrifice everything for survival. This was no longer just a military engagement. It was a fight for the very future of the galaxy. But just as Voreth prepared to issue another order to regroup, something unexpected happened. The ground under his feet trembled. The command bridge of his flagship shook violently, as if the very fabric of space had been warped. It wasn't just the shockwaves of the ongoing battle. It felt like something larger was happening, something that sent a ripple through the entire alien fleet. A transmission came through, but this wasn't just any communication. It was a distress signal from one of the leading alien ships. The captain of the vessel sounded panicked. "Commander Voreth, we can't explain it. It's as if we're being pulled apart. The ship, The transmission cut off abruptly. Static filled the air, and for a moment there was nothing but silence. Then a voice crackled through the speaker, the voice of a human. "Commander Voreth," came the chillingly calm voice. "We've already won." It was the voice of the human fleet commander, who had been strangely absent from the battle up until now. His words were simple, yet they carried a weight that sank into the hearts of all who heard it. The alien officers looked around in confusion. What did this human mean? The battle wasn't over. There were still enough alien ships left to win, weren't there? Before anyone could voice their concerns, the bridge erupted into chaos. "Get back to your stations," Voreth barked, his command cutting through the noise. But it was too late. The universe seemed to fold in on itself, and in that moment, the terrifying truth became clear. Earth had something that no one could have foreseen. From the shadows of Earth's fleet, the source of the sudden disturbance came into full view. It was unlike anything Voreth had ever seen before. A gargantuan warship, easily 10 times the size of any of the alien ships, appeared in the distance. Its surface shimmered with an unknown energy, reflecting the light of distant stars in eerie patterns. It wasn't a ship, it was a weapon, and it was no longer in hiding. The ship moved closer, and every alien ship in its path began to suffer the same fate. Their shields flickered and failed. The alien fleet's advanced systems, which had been nearly invincible, now began to glitch and distort. Entire ships started to crumble under the sheer force of the energy being emitted from the Earth warship. It was as if this enormous, unstoppable vessel was reshaping space itself, bending time, gravity, and the very laws that govern the galaxy to its will. "What is this thing?" one of the officers on Voreth's bridge asked, his voice full of terror. "It's impossible. The humans have been hiding this all along." Voreth muttered to himself, disbelief in his voice. He had underestimated them. He had seen Earth's warships as primitive, poorly equipped. But this was beyond anything he could have imagined. This was no ordinary weapon. This was something ancient, something powerful, something that should not have been possible. With terrifying speed, the human warship unleashed its firepower. Massive energy beams tore through the alien fleet, disintegrating ships as though they were nothing more than paper. It wasn't just the force of the weapons, it was something else. The way the beams tore through space, distorting light and space-time around them, was something out of a nightmare. The shockwaves of each strike seemed to warp the fabric of reality itself, sending ripples through space. "No," Voref shouted, gripping his chair as if trying to hold onto reality itself. "Pull back. Retreat. Now." But it was too late. The fleet was already in chaos. One by one, the alien ships were disintegrating, their defensive systems failing before they could even react. Panic spread like wildfire. The once feared armada of the aliens was no longer a threat. They were helpless before the power of Earth's last weapon, which had been concealed for so long. The massive Earth warship's weapons continued to fire, its energy beams striking with surgical precision, wiping out entire sections of the fleet. The alien ships began to retreat in disarray, but there was nowhere to go. The vastness of space had closed in on them, and no corner of it was safe from the wrath of humanity's final weapon. "What do we do, Commander?" one of Voreth's officers asked, her voice trembling. "There's nothing we can do," Voreth replied, his voice hollow. "We've underestimated them. The cost of this war, it will haunt us for eternity." As the last of the alien ships were wiped from the stars, a chilling silence settled over the battlefield. The Earth warship remained, floating in space like an unmovable monument to humanity's strength, its presence overwhelming. The galaxy had just witnessed the terrifying reality of what Earth was capable of, what humanity had kept hidden for so long. And the aliens, broken and defeated, would never forget it. The war was over, but the cost was far greater than anyone could have imagined. The universe seemed to hold its breath as the last alien ship disintegrated into a cloud of debris. Silence fell over the battlefield, broken only by the distant hum of Earth's warship as it stood victorious among the remnants of the alien fleet. The echoes of the battle, the crackling of energy blasts, the explosion of ships, all had faded into nothingness. The once feared alien armada, a symbol of power across the galaxy, was now a shattered memory. On board the flagship of Earth's fleet, Commander Jason Richards stood at the bridge, gazing out at the now empty void. His face was stoic, but inside, a storm raged. The battle was over, but the war was far from won. Earth had delivered its final blow, but what came next? What would be the cost of the destruction they had just unleashed? "Commander Richards," a voice broke through his thoughts. It was Lieutenant Sarah Foster, his second in command. Her expression was one of disbelief. "It's over. The fleet is destroyed. We won." Jason didn't immediately respond. His eyes remained fixed on the black expanse beyond the windows. For the first time in years, the weight of their actions began to settle on him. Yes, they had won, but at what cost? How many had perished in the wake of the war? The thought gnawed at him. "I know," he finally said, his voice distant. "But this victory, it doesn't feel like one." Foster hesitated for a moment before stepping closer. "Sir, this was a battle for survival. Earth had no choice but to fight. We did what we had to do." Jason turned to face her, his eyes filled with a mixture of resolve and sadness. "I know, but we've changed the course of history today. I don't know if it was worth it." His gaze shifted back to the stars. The vast emptiness of space seemed to stretch on forever, a constant reminder that even in victory, there could be no peace. It was a victory for humanity, but it also marked the beginning of something darker. How would the rest of the galaxy react? Would they see Earth as a newfound power, or would they see it as a threat to be extinguished? The battle against the alien fleet had been brutal, but it was not the end of the war. Earth's victory had sent a message that reverberated across the galaxy. The destruction of the alien fleet had not just broken their military power, it had shattered their perception of Earth. What they had thought was weak, defenseless, and insignificant had just proved to be a force unlike any they had ever encountered. Back on Earth, the atmosphere was tense. People watched the unfolding events through news feeds and broadcasts, stunned by the sudden reversal of fate. The world had been on the brink of annihilation, but now it was the symbol of resilience and power. Yet there was an eerie silence in the air, as though no one truly understood what had just transpired. In a high-security facility, government officials and military leaders gathered. Their faces were grim, the reality of the situation settling in. Earth had won the battle, but the war was far from over. The alien forces had been defeated, but there was no telling what consequences their victory would bring. The head of Earth's council, General Edward Morrison, looked out over the assembled leaders, his expression grave. "We've done it," he said, his voice low. "We've broken their power, but they will be back. We've made an enemy of the entire galaxy." A murmur of agreement passed through the room. Earth had just shown its hand, and it was a terrifying force, capable of bringing down the mightiest of fleets. But what did that mean for the future? Would other galactic powers now rise against Earth in retaliation? Would they see humanity as a new threat to be neutralized before it could grow even more dangerous? Morrison continued, his tone unwavering. "We must prepare for what comes next. This is not the end. It is the beginning of a new era. We need to ensure Earth's security, but we must also forge alliances, if possible. We cannot stand alone forever." Back on the warship, Jason sat in his quarters, staring at the communication screen. A transmission had just come through from an unknown source. The message was brief, but the words struck him hard. "You've made your point, Earth. But remember, nothing in the galaxy remains unchallenged forever." It was signed simply, the Galactic Council. Jason stood up slowly, the weight of the words sinking in. The alien forces they had just destroyed were only a small part of something much larger. The Galactic Council was an entity that spanned across countless worlds. If Earth had just made an enemy of the Council, what did that mean for humanity's future? He turned to Foster, who had entered the room unnoticed. "It's not over. This war, it's only just begun." Foster nodded, her expression hardening. "What should we do next, Commander?" Jason paused for a moment, the reality of the situation dawning on him. There were no easy answers. We prepare for whatever comes next. We'll strengthen our alliances, fortify our defenses, and keep our fleet ready. But we need to be smart about this. The galaxy is vast, and there are powers out there far greater than anything we faced. We may have just struck a blow, but now we must wait and see who strikes back. The silence between them stretched on, filled with the weight of what had just been said. For the first time in a long while, Jason felt the full burden of leadership. The war was over, but the true battle had only just begun. As the human fleet stood victorious among the ruins of the alien forces, no one knew what the future would hold. Earth had emerged from the ashes, but how long would it last? Would the galaxy come together to challenge humanity's rise, or would Earth continue to grow in power, ready to reshape the very fabric of the universe? Whatever happened next, one thing was certain: the cost of this war would haunt them for generations to come. The aftermath of the battle left Earth both shaken and victorious. The warship that had led humanity's final charge now floated above Earth, its hull scared but its engines still roaring with the relentless power of Earth's most advanced technology. Commander Jason Richards stood on the observation deck, staring out at the stars. Despite the victory, his mind was heavy with uncertainty. They had defeated the alien fleet, but the war was not over. The transmission from the Galactic Council still haunted him. "You've made your point, Earth. But remember, nothing in the galaxy remains unchallenged forever." Those words replayed in his mind over and over again. What did they mean? Who were the Galactic Council, and how far did their reach extend? Jason's eyes narrowed as he contemplated the future. Earth had just proved itself to be a force to be reckoned with. But would that make it a target for even more formidable enemies? Behind him, the hum of activity on the ship continued. Officers and crew members moved with purpose, their faces grim yet hopeful. The war was over, but the peace was fragile. Everyone knew that while they had dealt a heavy blow to the alien invaders, this was merely one battle in a larger, more dangerous war. Lieutenant Sarah Foster stepped up to Jason, her expression serious. "Commander, the message from the Galactic Council. What do you think it means? And what should we do now?" Jason turned to face her, his brow furrowing in thought. "It means we've entered uncharted territory, Sarah. The Council is a powerful force, and they will not forget what we've done. We've shown them that Earth is not weak. But the question is, will they see that as a challenge? Will they come after us?" Foster nodded, understanding the gravity of his words. "We can't let our guard down. We've just proven we can fight back, but we have no idea who else might be watching, or what they could be capable of." Jason's voice was low but resolute. "Exactly. We need to prepare for what's to come. We need to rebuild our forces and strengthen our position. We can't afford to be complacent. The next wave could come at any time, and we must be ready." Back on Earth, the news was filled with images of the warship floating above the planet, its presence a symbol of humanity's newfound strength. People across the globe watched as the government made statements of gratitude and resolve. But beneath the surface, there was a quiet unease. The victory felt incomplete, as though something crucial had been left unsaid. The alien fleet had been destroyed, but the galactic powers had been watching. What would be their response? No one knew for sure. At a high-level meeting in the United Nations, world leaders gathered to discuss the implications of the battle. General Edward Morrison stood at the front of the room, addressing the assembled heads of state. "We have won a great victory, but it is a victory that comes with risks. The destruction of the alien fleet has sent shockwaves through the galaxy. We cannot pretend that everything will go back to normal. We must be prepared for the consequences." Morrison's words echoed in the minds of those present. What had seemed like an impossible victory now felt like a double-edged sword. Earth had proven itself a force to be reckoned with, but that also meant it had drawn the attention of far more powerful entities. "We must focus on defense," Morrison continued. "Our warship is a symbol of our strength, but we need more than just one. We must develop our fleet, our technology, and our alliances. We cannot fight this war alone." Meanwhile, on the warship, Commander Richards received more transmissions from Earth's leadership. They were already discussing the creation of a new interstellar defense force, one that would protect Earth and its allies from any future threats. Jason couldn't help but feel a sense of foreboding. The galaxy was vast, and the powers they had just angered were only a fraction of what lay beyond their understanding. Earth had just become a target in a game it didn't fully comprehend. "I need you to stay sharp, Jason," Foster said as she approached him once again. "We're entering a new era, one where Earth's place in the galaxy is no longer just as a small, forgotten planet. We've changed the balance of power." Jason glanced at her, his eyes dark with resolve. "I know, Sarah, and that's exactly what scares me. We've made an enemy of the galaxy's most powerful forces. We've done something they won't easily forgive. But the worst part is, we don't even know who all our enemies are." As Jason and Sarah stood in silence, contemplating the future, an alert sounded across the ship. The bridge crew quickly jumped to attention. A new transmission was coming in, a message from the Galactic Council. "Patch it through," Jason ordered. The screen flickered to life, and the face of a dark-skinned alien with piercing yellow eyes appeared. His expression was cold, calculating. His voice, when he spoke, was like ice. "Commander Richards, we have been watching your actions with great interest. You have proven that Earth is not as weak as we once believed. But make no mistake, you will pay the price for this war. Your victory has only delayed the inevitable." Jason's heart sank. "Who are you?" he demanded. "What do you want from us?" The alien's eyes gleamed with contempt. "We want nothing from you, Earth, but your presence in the galaxy has disrupted the balance. You will regret this day. You will all regret it." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving an eerie silence in its wake. Jason stood frozen, his mind racing. The war had only just begun, and Earth had just awakened a far darker force than it could have ever imagined. Foster looked at him, her face pale. "What now, Commander?" Jason took a deep breath, his mind made up. "We prepare for war. The true battle is only beginning, and this time we'll be ready." As the warship turned toward deep space, the vastness of the galaxy stretched out before them. The peaceful silence that had once defined Earth's place in the universe was now replaced by the hum of anticipation. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: the cost of this war would haunt Earth for generations to come, and the galaxy would never forget the name of the planet that dared to fight back.